Feel the power in this statement. Lesson 284. I can elect to change all thoughts that hurt. I can elect, I can decide, I can choose to change all thoughts that hurt. I don't have to settle for this. Loss is not loss when properly perceived. Pain is impossible. There is no grief with any cause at all. And suffering of any kind is nothing but a dream. So, this is big news. If you are in pain, if you are suffering, if you are experiencing grief, and suffering of any kind is nothing but a dream. This is the truth, at first to be but said, and then repeated many times, and next to be accepted as but partly true with many reservations. So it's like, yeah, at first you just say it, and then you repeat it, and then eventually you might say, well, that might be partly true. The Course in Miracles is very realistic. It's like, yeah, at first you're just going to say it and repeat it, and maybe eventually you might accept it as but partly true. You might have reservations, then to be considered seriously more and more, and finally accepted as the truth. So it's a retraining of your mind. I can elect to change all thoughts that hurt, and I would go beyond these words today and past all reservations and arrive at full acceptance of the truth in them. So you just believe, I want to say the nonsense, but it's a good type of nonsense, because it will feel like nonsense if you're expected to be devastated when you're in grief. Like it's just normal. It's just the way it is. If you really love them, you would torture yourself with years of grief. Father, what you have given cannot hurt. So grief and pain must be impossible. Let me not fail to trust in you today, accepting but the joyous as your gifts, accepting but the joyous as the truth. It's a different way to look at things. But when you powerfully declare to yourself, I can elect to change all thoughts that hurt, you're putting yourself in a position that now you can have hope, that you can let this pain go. Now you can stand in your own power and say, oh, I can change this thought. I don't have to hurt. I can elect. I can choose. I can vote. I can say, I declare to change all thoughts that hurt. I do not have to put up with this pain. I do not have to put up with this suffering. I do not have to endure. Joy. Joy is what I should be letting in the door. Jesus, for lesson 284, wanted to talk about changing your perspective on death and grieving. So a lot of times the untrained mind turns on itself in the process of grieving, and there is a lot of suffering that goes with it. But if you change your perspective on death and grieving, if you change your mind, you can look at it from the spirit's perspective. Yes, from the ego battleground, it seems like you have a loss, but from the non-physical, the spirit of the person goes on. The spirit, the consciousness of the person bees more freer and does what it wants. To the spirit, it is simply a closing of one door and an opening of another. And as they open the door to the next exciting level, the spirit still exists, and you can be excited and happy for them. And in the freedom that you give that spirit, you can go on with your life without any fear of death. Give the consciousness freedom to go on to the next level of their journey. Do not be tormented in grief. Keep climbing the ladder of ascension to enlightenment and transcend the battleground. Attain full control of your mind and reality and thoughts and feelings. You will be more loving and compassionate in this way when you change your perspective on death and grieving. Truly, I could have had like 4 pages of Tina Jesus notes today, because Jesus was like definitely hitting a big one with this, because yes, this is a big thing in our reality. We are just devastated. Can't say that I won't be, but it is a change of mind when you lose someone, because we don't have them here anymore in form. We don't have them in the body. They dropped their body. They don't need their body anymore, and we're fucking freaked out. I mean, it's just not cool. Why did you leave me here? Why did you go on? But from the spirit's point of view, it was time. It was their time to go. So how do we change our perspective with that? You're like, well, they're more free now. They do exactly what they want. They wanted to move on to the next part of their journey, regardless of the circumstances of their passing. It was the consciousness's choice. And then you can kind of be happy about that. I don't know. It's like definitely going to have that uncomfortable silence in a conversation if there was other people here, because they'd be like, oh, how could you say that? But if you think about the spirit of the person goes on, it bees more free, it does what it wants, it opens the door to the next exciting level of its journey. I mean, if that's what it wanted, don't be sad about it. Don't be tormented in grief. So I don't know. I think like where we're at in life, like there's got to probably be a process that you move through. But if you've been doing these lessons again and again, if you've not only just said our lessons, said the crazy A Course in Miracles things, you've said them, you've repeated them now, you're starting to say, hey, partially this might be true because it feels kind of good to me. Then you keep on that path and start to see the truth in them, accepting them as the truth. It's up to you. It really is. You don't have to stay in pain. You don't have to stay in grief. Like if you were the one who passed, would you want your family, your loved ones, your children to just be in pain for years and years and years, a sadness that they can't climb out of, tortured beyond all belief? Would you want that for them? Probably not. So why would you think that the person who passed would want that for you? We gotta change our perspective on death and grieving. It would be nice. It would be nice for the people who are still in their bodies. And, maybe on some level, it's nice for the consciousness who moves on, to know that like, hey, they'll be cool even though I'm moving on. I don't know if we hold them back or not. I mean, I've heard that, but regardless, let's get on the path of light here. Pathwaysoflight.org. Welcome to the reading, A Course in Miracles Workbook Lesson 284, Insights. I can elect to change all thoughts that hurt. God created us, His Son, as changeless love like Himself. Because our self is changeless, loss is impossible. Loss of any kind must mean that there has been some change. But the truth is, we still remain as God created us. In this world, it does not seem that we are changeless. It seems like change is the only thing that is inevitable. But that is because the ego made the world to be a place where God could not enter. where we could not experience his changelessness and ours. Gratefully, since only changeless love is real, the world can only be an illusion, a dream. Like the dreams we experience when the body sleeps at night, the events and figures in the dream seem very real. Some of the figures in the dream can seem very threatening, and the body's heart beats faster as fear builds. When the body wakens, we recognize it was only a dream and we dismiss it as nothing. And when the body wakens, we still dream this world of separation. But similar to the experience when the body wakens, when we waken from our dream of separation, we will see its meaninglessness and dismiss it as nothing. We have the means within our mind to help us waken from this dream. In paragraph 1 of this lesson, Jesus describes the process we go through. There is no grief with any cause at all, and suffering of any kind is nothing but a dream. This is the truth, at first to be but said and then repeated many times, and next to be accepted as but partly true with many reservations. Then to be considered seriously more and more, and finally accepted as the truth. It is the Holy Spirit which reminds us that we remain changeless love as we were created. We change all thoughts that hurt, that bring us discomfort, anxiety, guilt, or fear by taking each thought that hurts to the Holy Spirit and asking to receive his interpretation. Because this is a gradual process, we need to do this over and over until it is finally accepted as the truth. If we listen and accept his vision, we will learn to see past the images of this world and feel the peace of God that comes from knowing that loss is impossible, and thus recognizing that loss is not loss when properly perceived. It was only a dream that could never be true. God's love for us is eternal. We can never lose it. We need only welcome his love, and we will know it is there. Today, I commit once again to practicing taking all my thoughts that do not bring me supreme happiness to the Holy Spirit for his gentle and kind correction. Thus will I change all thoughts that hurt. The way I change all thoughts that hurt is to be willing to take these thoughts to the Holy Spirit to receive a correction in my perception. All hurt and pain, loss and guilt, all suffering of any kind comes from joining with the ego's thought system. So the way out of these painful experiences is to be willing to let go of the thoughts that are the cause. In another place of the Course, it says, "To every apprehension, every care, and every form of suffering, I will forgive, and this will disappear." Forgiveness means letting go of my false ideas, letting go of the ideas that bring me pain. I let go of these false ideas with the help of the Holy Spirit, who shows me that these thoughts are not true. Once I really get it, that they are not true, it is easy to let them go because they are simply meaningless thoughts. Crazy ideas are simply crazy ideas and don't have to be energized with belief. The Holy Spirit shows me the difference between what is real and what is not real, and this makes all the difference in how I view the world or my experiences in this false world of separation. Gradually, it becomes easier to see the one united light that is behind every false form that looks separate and alone. As I open more and more to Holy Spirit's perception of the world, I see that there is nothing to fear. Behind all the fearful ideas is always love. Love has never left. It is always there if I am willing to see it. I can elect to change all thoughts that hurt. pathwaysoflight.org. So, very simply, if the thoughts that you are thinking do not bring you supreme happiness, supreme happiness, then ask the Holy Spirit to gently correct them and change your perception. I mean, it's a different way of being, that's for sure. But notice when you have thoughts that don't feel good, that are suffering, that are pain, that are so freaking sad, and ask the Holy Spirit for help in changing your perception. I don't know, you guys. It's worth a shot, especially if you're miserable. I can elect to change all thoughts that hurt. So loss is not loss when properly perceived. There can be no loss. There can be no pain. There can be no suffering in what God created. So if you are not happy, if you're not supremely happy, you are in the ego thought system. You're in the ego thought system if you're feeling pain, because pain is impossible. There is no grief with any cause at all. And suffering of any kind is nothing but a dream. And if you're dreaming, you're in the ego thought system of separation. So you want to wake up to the truth. You want to wake up to joy, to love, to peace, to supreme happiness. And how do you do that? But changing your mind. And you start with where you're at, doing what you can. Say, I elect to change all thoughts that hurt. And then you repeat this stuff. And then you kind of start to believe it. And then you really believe it eventually. So we want to go beyond words today. We want to go past reservations and arrive at full acceptance of the truth in them. So this is definitely a feeling experience. Yes, we're thinking and changing our thoughts and we're changing our minds, but ultimately you'll know that you've changed when you feel differently. So that is where we're at. Let me not fail to trust in you today, accepting but the joyous as your gifts, accepting but the joyous as the truth. I can elect to change all thoughts that hurt. And really, if you're telling yourself that you should stay in pain and you should stay in grief and you should stay in sadness, then you need to recognize you're listening to the ego thought system. And that is not what God wills for you. And that's not what the people that or who you're grieving for wills for you. So change your thoughts and see how that changes everything.